Welcome to the Brandtelling Podcast, where we share secrets, systems, and strategies you can use to unleash the power of story to build and grow your brand. The Brandtelling Podcast is brought to you by the team at Brandtelling, a B2B brand storytelling agency. Now, please welcome your host, principal, and chief brand teller, Arthur Germain.
Welcome back to the Brandtelling Podcast. I'm Arthur Germain, your host. Along with me, my co-host, Asaf Bachman.
Nice to meet you, everybody.
So, Asaf had challenged me and said, you have this Brandtelling podcast, but really it's a little bit all over the map. And so what we wanted to do is kind of launch it. Asaf keeps joking and calling it the Brandtelling Podcast 2.0. And in this 2.0 version, we're looking to say, can we do something that is different from most of the branding and marketing podcasts that you get?
Right, because when you're looking at all the branding podcasts out there, they really fall into two buckets. So we have the one-on-ones, the ones that are teaching other branders how to brand.
Right, how to brand.
And you've got the other ones that are talking to...
Yeah, you and I, and it's kind of inside baseball. It's the, hey, here's the latest in branding for people who are doing branding, or latest marketing tools, a lot of talk about AI and how to use that. And really the audience here, I'm hoping that what we're going to do is produce a podcast for the owner, founder, president of a company, entrepreneur, somebody who is running a growing firm and really wants to better understand the power of their brand. How can they leverage their brand and their brand story for greater results with all of their various audiences? And when I say various audiences, it's not just always your customers, but your partners, your employees, the community that you work with, and your suppliers, people like Asaf and I, who might be working with you to help you build up your brand. All of these people want to understand the power of your brand, and you want to leverage that. A lot of times, Asaf, and I'm sure you've gotten this, you talk to someone and they say, can you tell me about your marketing ROI?
Oh, it happens every day.
Right. And so what I find about ROI is it's a term thrown out there about return on investment. Really, for me, when I think about brand goes directly to the bottom line. It's a profitability. It's all about how profitable can the company be? How profitable is the brand? And this makes sense. Intuitively that a brand that is worth more to the customer is something that you can charge more for. And so it's a profitability measurement.
Do you have an example of that?
Yeah. So if you think about, a Timex watch, Timex is a fine watch. They sell millions of them every year. It's an inexpensive watch, and it still has value. So I don't mean to say inexpensive as in cheap, but I mean it's got value and it's a great watch. Everybody knows the tagline, takes a licking, keeps on ticking. Everyone knows that. But then compare that to a different watch. And here I'm thinking of like a Patek Philippe.
That's a good example.
A Patek Philippe watch is a watch that is, handmade in Switzerland. It's 3 generations of family that have been running this company.
And don't forget, it's $40,000.
Yeah, and it's a $40,000 watch. So the brand is perceived at a much higher value than the brand for Timex. Timex is probably okay with that. Timex sells in volume where Patek Philippe does not focus on volume. And, those are things that we want to get into in this podcast. How do you think about your perception of your brand and how you want customers to perceive your brand, how you want employees to perceive your brand? And we'll talk about how to work with your employees to really turn them into brand ambassadors and how to turn your customers into brand evangelists. That's what we want to get into. And that's why I love Asaf's idea of making this a 2.0 podcast. It is a 2.0 podcast because we're not going to talk about the 101 things. We want to talk about that second level thing. So Welcome to the graduate course. And this is not for an owner to push off and say, hey, listen to this podcast to the person who, does marketing in your organization. They certainly can listen. but I really want this to be for you. You own that brand. You've built that brand from scratch. If we think about HP, you started this in the garage with a buddy and you've created that.
That's right.
This is the podcast that we want to talk to you, right?
Right. And as you're growing your brand and as you're growing your business, the last thing you want to do is lose sight of what you had in that garage with your buddy when you were building that thing to begin with. You
Right.
want that to embody the brand as it grows. You want everybody you hire to understand it, to push that brand, because like it or not, brand is really what people are thinking about your company, not the logo, not the tagline, not any physical iteration of your brand or expression of your.
They're all parts of it, right? They're expressions of the brand. I always say that the brand represents the promise. What have you promised to your audience, whichever audience we're talking about? What have you promised them with your brand, and how you get there? As Asaf said, right? The logo is a way to get there. The website is a way to get there. Going to a trade show is a way to get there.
That's right.
What we'll be talking about in this 2.0 podcast is
Beyond
how to
the
leverage
touch
those.
point.
Yeah, beyond the touch points, how to leverage those things. Exactly right.
Right. Touch point is anytime someone is interacting with your brand, and that could be thought of really basic. Okay, so you have a website, you wanted to convert people on your brand. Okay, you have to have it have A, B, C, and D. But when you're thinking about branding, you're thinking more than just what is the website going to do. It's more like, what is the feeling and what is the, emotion it's going to make the viewer feel? Is it going to connect with my brand? Is it going to also convert them for a sale? Because of course that's the ultimate goal as well. But is it going to do it in a way where the viewer feels something negative happened? Do they feel swindled? Do they feel like you cut corners on your website? Because that will show. Or do they feel like you cut corners on your packaging? That will definitely show.
Right.
And that's
and all of those things, what goes into your packaging, if you're a packaged goods company, what goes into the way that you name and talk about your services, if you're a company that sells services, all of those things reflect on the brand, and they're the things that reflect for the customer who walks away and talks about somebody. We all say, everybody, doesn't matter what, everybody says word of mouth is the strongest kind of marketing.
right.
Well, the way that you're going to leave the strongest kind of word of mouth is if you've left a really strong brand.
Absolutely.
If I say to Asaf, hey, do you have a restaurant that you recommend? Asaf is not going to recommend, the fast food restaurant. He's going to recommend one that he really enjoyed. He had a great experience. He felt that the price was right. All of those things that, that he had what he may say is, well, are you just going quickly for lunch, or are you taking Patty out for dinner? And those are things we're going to get into in later episodes in the podcast, the difference between strategy, objectives, and tactics, things
Right.
that people often confuse. We all do this, right? We all jump to the tactics. Hey, let's talk about strategy. Great. What's our podcast strategy? That's a tactic, right? We want to talk about our communication strategy. We want to talk about our brand strategy first. So
That's right.
these are all the kind of topics that we want to get into. And listen, this is a learning experience too. So we want to hear from you about the kinds of topics that are meaningful to you.
That's right.
Not just the top level, because if it's a real top level, like, how do you build a logo? We'll send you someplace. There are great podcasts that you can listen to for that. But if it's why this logo versus another logo, or we're feeling like it's time to refresh our logo,
Right.
Asaf, what are the, 4 or 5 things that go into thinking about refreshing a logo?
Right.
Those are the kind of things that we really want to delve into in upcoming podcasts.
Right.
We'll also be inviting guests on the podcast, people that we've worked with either to help us develop branding. So our video people, other graphic artists and other writers who have helped with that, or with clients who have gone through the process.
That's
People
right.
who've taken a brand and refreshed, launched, rebuilt, or grew a brand. And if you're in the process right now of thinking about perhaps you're going to grow your brand, and it could be that you're expanding or you're making an acquisition, or if you're being acquired, this is going to be the podcast for you, because we're going to dig into what are the nuances in the brand that we really want to talk about.
Right. One of the things I think that jumps out at me about founders, especially in tech companies, is they know how to spot opportunities, right? They
Right.
know how to combine their skills. They know how to combine software, and they know how to combine opportunities into a service or an offer that is going to last a long time and it's going to help a lot of people. But when it comes to brand strategy and branding, a lot of these people do not understand the opportunities when they lie. And they might think, well, this just has nothing to do with the product. Let me throw it to marketing and marketing will take care of it. But marketing does not understand your brand the way that you know the
Right.
way you want to build your brand.
And that's important too, is the strategy behind, why did you launch your company in the first place? What did you intend, and who did you intend to reach with your message? I always hate the answer, hey, who does your business serve? Everyone.
Because it ends up serving nobody.
Right.
If you're not focused on a specific problem that a specific group of people are having, you cannot provide a good solution to that problem. All you can do is push yourself. And that's the type of cheesy salespeople that people don't like.
Right. And so, you know this in a growing brand, you've started to hire more team members. You've started to hire more salespeople here. What you're trying to do is, build and increase on the brand that you've started, and not begin to take away from it. You don't want to diminish the brand. You want to build on the brand. And sometimes that means the brand has to change. Sometimes you've taken things in a different direction and you're going to build the brand. These are the things that we're going to talk about. These are the strategies that we're going to delve into and look for things.
Absolutely. And what we're really going to do is we're going to explore that through stories. So along with stories that we have of client work and even just everyday interactions with brands, we're going to bring in founders who have a story that they didn't even know that they had.
Right.
And we're going to ask them questions. We'd love to get audience questions for any founder. We'd love to a way to post it up on a website. Maybe people can contact us and let us know, hey, if you're interviewing so-and-so, we really want to ask them about this. But really, it's bringing about their brand process through their story that I think is going to connect to our audience.
Yeah. And I think we'll also get into a lot into brand story, the idea, and why we call it brand telling is the brand storytelling.
I think you know something about that.
Yeah. And that's that's an aspect that I come from, and, dozens of years, both in journalism and public relations and marketing, helping companies sit around a table and saying, why this story, why now, and why for this audience? And looking at what's important for that audience. So that is really one of the keys here is helping founders like you get an understanding of, what are your sharpest, strongest stories and how do you tell those? What are your weaker stories and can you strengthen them or stop telling those weaker stories? That's often, something we struggle with. I've told for years stories about, a client that I may not be working with now, and, things have changed. So stop telling that story. Talk about it. Talk about something more current and something that really resonates more with a current audience.
Right. I can picture, a founder being on the golf course and he's telling a story about a customer. He's thinking everything is fun. Maybe he's poking fun at the customer. Maybe he's not realizing that one of his golf buddies could be related to that customer.
Yeah.
Could have had a similar experience with that customer. Maybe didn't like the way that they handled that customer. And that right there is a brand interaction. It has nothing to do with sales, but it has everything to do with the impression that brand is putting upon someone.
Right. And you're going to tell stories that annoy and upset people. That's just part of the game. But if you can think about having, just like you have, golf is a great example. You have lots of different clubs and you use different clubs for a different lie of the ball when you're out on the course. You're going to have different stories that you pull out of your bag. Is it a sales story? Hey, let me tell you a story about a sale. Or is it a technical story? We had a problem like that. Our customer had a problem like that. This is how we help them resolve it. All of those things are or as Asaf calls them, brand interactions or opportunities for brand interactions. And we really want to get into that. So again, welcome back to the Brandtelling Podcast, the Brandtelling 2.0. And if you have a story, something that you want to talk to us about, you can reach us at podcasting@brandtelling.com. And we look forward to talking with you.
Hey, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Thanks very much, everyone.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you for joining us for the Brandtelling Podcast. If you have a story idea or would like to be a guest on the podcast, please send us an email at podcast@brandtelling.com.